Hey everybody, this is Russ and Rose with Metalholic Magazine and of course Metal Nation Radio, and with us tonight, the amazing Brittney Slays of Unleash the Archers. How are you doing besides a little sick?
Yeah, other than that, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, you've got to be pretty excited. The new album, the third album, Time Stands Still, coming out in just under a month, little less actually in Europe because they get it a little bit earlier. But
Yep.
and fantastic album, loving what I'm hearing so far. So,
Cool, thank you.
and quite a bit has changed in the world of Unleash the Archers since your last full studio album in 2011.
Yes, yep. We had a bit of a lineup change in 2013. We lost our main songwriter, Braden, who was lead guitar, and a big sort of part of the sound that we had on our first records. And so that was kind of sad and a little bit of a wrench in things. Took a little while to recover. The three of us, Scott, Grant, and I, continued on and continued writing, and we pushed the record back. We were originally going to release it in early 2014, and we pushed it back to late 2014. And then we found Andrew, and sort of everything just fell right into place. Andrew had played with Grant previously in another band, and actually Unleash the Archers had toured with them in that band a lot in our early years. So we were all really good friends from the get-go, and we all knew each other really well, and things just really started moving once we got Andrew in there. And he's definitely a different guitar player than Braden, so the sound from this record to the last few is quite a bit different, but we all work together, we all write the songs together, so we still did our best to stick to that traditional UTA sort of style. So, I mean, it's not crazy different, but there's definitely going to be a little bit of a more traditional metal sound going on, for sure.
Right. And Andrew's a songwriter in his own right, correct?
Yes, yeah, no, he's been the main songwriter in all of his previous projects, so he just kind of stepped into the role quite easily. I mean, Grant does write a lot of stuff as well, but I mean, because Braden was a founding member, he sort of led the way most of the time, and then when he left, it was just Grant writing on his own, and I mean, that's difficult enough as it is. So it was kind of slow going, and then when Andrew jumped in, he had a lot of ideas because he hadn't been involved in anything for a little while, and he was ready to get in the studio right away, and it was like no pressure whatsoever for him. So he was, excited about it just as much as we were ready to get things going again. So yeah, it worked out really well.
Well, and Grant had done a little bit on the last full-length studio album, but Andrew, as you said, entirely new to the full studio thing. Kyle, new bass player, entirely new. So you got three new people in the band going into record Time Stand Still, essentially. How did that sort of impact the dynamic once you were in the studio to record?
Well, it was actually, it was hard because Braden was always the one that was sort of our producer, and he would see it through from beginning to end, and he had his fingers in everything, and he was always the vocal producer and the drums and everything. So when he was gone, without that sort of foundation, we were a little bit all over the place at first, but we came together and we figured it out in the end. But definitely there was a little bit of, well, are we all going to sit on the mix? Or like usually Braden would be the one that would do that. Like, I've never done that before. I don't know what to look for. So it was definitely a learning curve, but it worked out really well, I think. I mean, aside from the fact that the guitars, we took a little bit longer than originally planned, but other than that, everything worked out.
To me, you vocally sound more confident than ever before.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I always hated that about the previous records, that I was timid in the studio and that I just didn't know or have the skill to kind of do what I can do live in the studio. Because I mean, live it's so easy to rip it up because you got all this energy and all these people there that are excited to see you, and it just kind of, you bounce back off of one another. But in the studio, it's just you, and you've sang a part 20 times and you just don't want to do it anymore, and it's hard to get that intensity sometimes after a while. But on this record, I just kind of said, screw it, and I don't care what other people think, and I'm gonna just kind of throw caution to the wind and do it as best as I can. And I think that I'm the most proud of the stuff that I did on this record because I just sort of let it all go and did my best to capture what I do live in the studio.
Well, and your previous records were sort of independent releases. This is with Napalm, pretty big name. So that's all got to add a little bit more excitement, energy, and pressure, I would imagine, to do something really fantastic.
Yeah, we had everything all done and ready to go, and we just had a few more things to do in the studio when Napalm approached us. So we were really excited, actually, that we had put a lot of heart into this record, and we were fully ready to release it independently, just like our others. We were shopping it out, but we didn't get anything back, and so we were just like, okay, well, we'll do it like we always do, and then Napalm got back to us. Well, actually, they contacted us. I don't even know how. I think it's because we have friends in the label. But we were pretty much done and ready to go when they came to us. And we actually had to push the record back a little bit further because we decided to sign with them. And they said, we need time to promote it and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, we were definitely happy with the record and so excited that it was going to be released on Napalm because we wanted the world to hear it. And we wanted everyone to, for it to reach corners of the globe that we hadn't, gotten to yet. So. Yeah, it's definitely exciting.
Well, nice timing and everything for all of it. So,
for sure, yeah.
Each of your albums has had a unique sound, even though it's always been Unleash the Archers. Demons of the Astrowaste was a concept record. Tell us about Time Stands Still from your perspective.
Well, it is kind of a concept record. Demons of the Astrowaste was a full linear story, though, so this is kind of more like story. Each song is a story. It's about what it's like to be an independent band in Canada, and each song is sort of a different aspect of your adventures, across the prairies and things like that, but veiled in that kind of fantastical imagery that I love to write about, medieval or sci-fi or things like that. So Steel is all about the warriors of Canada, the metalheads of Canada that brave the even when it's 40 degrees below zero and you should probably just be at home and not freezing your face off. They still come out and support, and so I just kind of wanted to dedicate that song to them. And each song is about a different aspect of life as a musician and as an independent band in Canada.
Yeah, but, Frozen Still is a fantastic song too.
Oh, thank you.
Now, it has often been said, that a band's third album is where they really define their signature, but sort of as you guys have evolved so much, do you feel that this is sort of the true Unleash the Archers sound, or are you still in some ways finding yourself?
I think we're still getting there. I don't know. I mean, you never are completely perfectly happy with what you put out. You're just going to be your own worst critic no matter what. So I do feel that we can do better. I know that that we still have a lot of room to grow as musicians and together as friends in this band. And I think that we will get better on the next record, and that the next record is going to blow this one out of the water, just like this one blew Demons out of the water. So, I mean, I don't think we've, culminated quite yet, but maybe if you feel that you've gotten there, there's nothing left to do after that, right? So you don't want to give yourself this sort of goal that you can never reach. I think that we're just going to focus on continuing to grow our sound and to sort of mold it into a little bit more poignant direction, and just kind of go with the flow and see what happens from here.
Well, and you guys have always had different elements of the different subgenres, if you will, of metals. A little bit of death, a little bit of traditional, a lot of power metal. And you can definitely hear that on this, although it seems like you're sort of honing in on more of a traditional power metal sound, but there's still some death metal elements there. But my own personal favorite on the album is that fist-pumping anthemic Test Your Metal right there in the middle.
My favorites too, actually, yeah. It actually started out with me just singing the chorus to Grant. I was in the car and I came up with it and I sang it into my phone as a voice memo and sent it off and was like, write something around this. And we all agreed that it should be something simple and rocky and kind of like that, that more traditional heavy metal kind of feel. And I really love that one. I love playing that one live. It's so much fun live. I don't know, maybe if because it's a little bit easier, you don't have to think about it as much, as opposed to something like Tonight We Ride, where, I'm at the top of my register most of the time. And
right.
it's definitely, I was kind of calling it the party track because you just kind of have a really good time when you're listening to it and when you're playing it. So yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
Anytime that you can throw into a song, you know.
No, it's definitely my favorite song because it's kind of that rock song they don't have to really think about too hard. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, why don't we take a moment right now and we'll listen to that. Test Your Metal here on Metal Nation Radio, and we'll be back on the flip side with more of Brittney Slayes from Unleash the Archers. And we're back again here on Metal Nation Radio with Brittney Slayes of Unleash the Archers. You just heard Test Your Metal from their new album Time Stands Still, coming out July 10th here in North America. And we're talking about some of the songs on the record, and I know we can't talk about all the songs on the record, but I definitely want to talk about this one, the title track. I'm loath to use the word, but it has that epic feel. Tell us about the title track.
It's it kind of just started with us being like, okay, this is a record, and we know that it's going to be the title track, and we know what it's going to be about, but how do we want it to make people feel? And what's sort of the emotion that we want to grow within people with this song and inspire within our fans. And it pretty much just started out with Scott's drum beat, and then we all were singing stuff to it and playing around with the words that I wanted to use, and it just kind of was us playing around in the studio and kind of a little off the cuff jam, as it were. So it ended up being a lot of fun to write as well as to play, and we kind of toned it back just to make it simpler. We're really big fans of Manowar, so we definitely took some Manowar type elements and stuck those in there. But I really kind of just put my all into this track. It was like the first one that we laid down in the studio because I was so excited to do it. And it really, I did it, I think, in like 2 takes because I was just like so stoked to get out there and sing this song. And I hope that everyone else feels the same way about it as we do.
Now, Unleash the Archers has developed a solid name in Canada, but your reach is expanding fast. I think this album, especially being on Napalm, is really going to help extend that. So for those not familiar yet with Unleash the Archers and with Brittney Slayes, tell us a little bit about you and your own path to metal. Was there a defining moment, a record, a concert, an experience, sort of when the light went on and you knew this is what you wanted to do?
Well, older brother, so of course he is someone that I've always looked up to, and he's really big into music, and my father was really big into music. Actually, my dad played in a band all through his younger years. From, I think, age of 12, he got his first bass. And so music has always been really important in our family, and I sang in choir from 8 years old. But when I was 8 years old when Adam brought home a tape with this awesome artwork on it of a shriveled old man sort of hovering in a jail cell. Was the Tower of London, maybe. And it was Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction.
Ah, yes.
And I absolutely loved it. And I was 8 years old, and it just blew me away. And I remember sitting on the floor in my bedroom with that tape on repeat in my little purple tape player and just staring at the artwork and knowing that this was the kind of music that I loved. And I kind of lost my way a little bit in high school, as you are wont to do, peer pressure and whatnot. Everyone else was listening to Britney Spears, so how can I not listen to Britney Spears? And then in university, I met Scott, and he played in a metal band at the time. He was drumming with Braden, and I went to their shows, and I just loved them, and I would look up there and say, I could totally do that. And I got back into it through Scott a lot, listening to all the kinds of metal that he had that I had never heard before, things like Danzig and stuff like that. And when their band broke up, I called up Braden and I said, let's do this, and started Unleash the Archers. And really, at first, because I was definitely still in classical mode, because I was in choir right up until I graduated university, doing a lot of classical pieces, things like that. So it took me a while to find my voice as a singer in heavy metal, but once I figured it out, basically I just watched a million live videos of Bruce Dickinson. I was like, man, that guy knows what he's doing. He's so rad. I think that it took me a little while, but I figured it out. And yeah, so I don't know, metal's kind of always been in my blood, but I never really truly embraced it until I started Unleash the Archers.
It's interesting that, I've done so many interviews over the years with female vocalists, and almost every one of them to a person, if you ask them about their vocal influences, it's always men. Bruce Dickinson or somebody. Is that entirely true for you? Or are there one or two female vocalists that you've also sort of modeled yourself after a little bit, or?
Yeah, definitely mostly men. I mean, it is a little bit of a male-dominated industry, but I mean, I always loved, Epica and Nightwish and things like that, but I never found influence there. The first time I heard a female voice and was like, oh my God, I could take what she does and sort of put my own spin on it, was when I heard Jill Janis of Huntress. And she's a little bit more of like sort of the shrieking banshee kind of thing, and but I just loved how wild she was and how raw and so talented. So I only discovered her a few months ago, so I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to hear a little bit of Jill on the next record, but yeah, definitely she has influenced me for sure. But yeah, I mean, most of it is, the classics like Rob Halford and Michael Kiske and Jeff Tate and Bruce Dickinson, of course. So
when you're maybe having a bad day or feeling down or need to feel motivated or something, do you have a go-to record that always pumps you up?
Yeah, there's this one band from Vancouver called Zimmer's Hole, which is Gene Hoglan on drums. And this voice, his name is Chris the Heathen Valago, and everyone calls him Val. And he is like phenomenal, and he's got these killer pipes. And the music this band plays, Zimmer's Hole, is basically like making fun of metal, mostly is what it is. But it's making fun of metal in the most kick-ass way, because it's just like mind-blowingly good. And they play really fast and really in your face. And I mean, it's raunchy and totally gross even at some points. But I'm just like, sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I just put this on and I smile, and it makes me laugh, and I sing along, and I headbang, in the middle of traffic, and people stare at me, and I don't care, because it's just, so yeah, definitely When You Were Shouting at the Devil by Zimmer's Hole is my go-to.
Nice. All right, so our last question, the pointless question of the week. Is there a TV show or series you're hopelessly addicted to?
The Strain. Yes. I watched The Strain. I found it on I guess it's called FX or whatever the channel is. It's playing at all the episodes of the first season while it's gearing up to release their second season in July. And so, of course, as soon as I saw the first episode, I was like, oh my God, I got to get my hands on this. And I downloaded it all, and I watched it in like 3 days. So now I have nothing, and I'm like just counting down the days till I can watch the season premiere on whenever it is. I don't even know the station. I don't usually get what's it called, cable television. Yeah. So
now
it's going to be interesting.
Now I'm going to have to go see if I can find it on Netflix. I haven't heard of that one. So
I don't think it's on Netflix, but I went on like BitTorrent or the Pirate Bay. You can download it. You can download the first season. It's awesome. It's written by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's killer. Yeah, for sure.
You're turning me on to all sorts of new stuff. Zimmer's Hole, The Strain. All right. Brittney, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. The new album, Time Stands Still, coming out July 10th in North America, June 26th over in Europe. Those bastards always seem to beat us. I don't know how. But we're so excited it's coming out on Napalm. Get you some more notoriety, because you guys are really coming into your own, I think, on this album, and it's really exciting to hear.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. Take care and feel better.
Yeah, will do. Have a good night.
Bye.